Welcome to the show, Taj Palmer. You are a producer, engineer, songwriter, and singer, known for your guitar playing with over 30 years' experience in the business. After moving to Oakland, California, you developed musically and represented your school with your peers, which included John Paris, the drummer from Earth, Wind and Fire, and Eric Daniels, who's the keyboardist from The Voice. Moving on to New York, you also performed with the Charles Moffett family. You've become one of the first engineers trained in Silicon Valley by Apple, IBM, and Hewlett-Packard, to name just a few. You've recorded with some great names: Joss Stone, Eric Daniels, as we mentioned, Katrina Morris, Nate Jones, and of course, our very own Skyler Jett. We'll go into that a little bit later on, as well as recording for film and television. There's tons of stuff to talk with you about, Taj. Thank you so much for joining us. And please do tell us more.
Well, yeah, my life in music and technology started out basically when I was really, really young. My family moved to New York from Chicago in 1965. And at that time, there was a lot of change going on in the way of civil rights and the whole 9 yards, you know what I mean? So I was thrust right in the middle of it. But we moved to Manhattan, West 85th. And at that time, my neighbors were people like Chuck Rainey, Cornell Dupree, Morgan Freeman, Nikki Giovanni, the Last Poets, the neighborhood I lived in. They all lived there, and they were up and coming artists at the time. So as kids, we all would be over each other's house, you know, and learning from them. So at my earliest, when I started playing guitar, was Cornell was my influence. He took me under his wing, and I spent a lot of time with him at his home because he lived right next door to me. He had actually moved to New York from Texas with Chuck Rainey, King Curtis, all those guys, and they were doing records of Aretha Franklin, Donny Hathaway, you name it. They were just recording all the time. And so as a child, I was always influenced by them and their work ethic. And actually, Cornell gave me my first wah-wah pedal when I was 8 years old. And I actually performed. I love that sound so much. I performed by myself on a talent show with that wah-wah pedal.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And it's just been into it ever since I was 8, pretty much playing. But after some time in New York, we moved to California in 1975 to Oakland, to the Bay Area. And at that time, that's when I got in all my work ethic and learning was with the peers that I had developed when I moved there. So those are who you mentioned, John Paris, Jay Logan, Eric Daniels, you know, all these different people that we were in school with at Oakland Tech, when I went to Oakland Tech first. So we represented the school in the music department. And at that time, our music teacher, Mr. James, would have us perform all around the Bay Area to represent the school. Because Oakland Technical High was just as it is, a technical high. You went there, you learned something as a trade. You always had something to learn as a trade. Electronics, repairing cars, all of it. And so during that time, I developed such a strong bond with my friends that I went to school with. It's just lasted us over the years now. I mean, we're all still connected. Eric has gone on to do so many things. You guys had him on your show, and you pretty much know his background. John, who currently is John Paris, who's currently the drummer for Earth, Wind and Fire, who has been for the last 20 years. We're all still close, and we work together. In fact, we all came together to work on an album for our other partner who came out of Oakland Tech, Jay Logan, who at some point when you get him on the show, you'll learn that he is a world-renowned producer who's produced over, oh my God, his records, 30 million sold, Bobby Brown, In Vogue, you name it. He's just, he's the jack of all trades when it comes to production and MIDI, you know, bringing the first 16-bit audio transmission to television using his technology that he had developed and learned on the Arsenio Hall show when they first debuted In Vogue. That was the first time in history that 16-bit was used, stereo. So that's one of the things that he and I have in common, because we developed, I worked in Silicon Valley. I worked for a company called Media Vision. And at that time, we helped to develop the silicon that's found in everything that allows you to record and sample audio and video to transmit it. Because back then, we believed that the computer should be more than just text on a screen. That's when, back in those days, it was the amber monitor or the green monitor that you had. This is before color was introduced. And so when I got involved with that in '82, with a company that sent me all through Silicon Valley to train at Apple, IBM, all these different companies that were developing, because back then, the highest level of desktop computing was the XT, the IBM XT. If you guys do any history on that,
way back.
You'll know. The largest hard drive in that thing, and it was huge, was just a 10 megabyte drive, and it was the size of a brick. You know what I mean? So fast forward to where we are today, you can see the transition and how far we've come. But I was in the beginning, so I helped to take that technology around the world. We believe that instead of having all these meetings to fly everywhere to have these meetings, we could do them using computers. And so we developed the silicon to do the capturing. And so after that period of my life, after I left Media Vision, because I helped them get from 100 members, employees, to over 2,000. Because when I came in, we were just beginning. Paul Jan was a brilliant man, to develop this technology and take it around the world. Our only competitor was, at the time, was Creative Labs. You guys probably know them as Sound Blaster. So it was us. We were the two competing in the industry. And we won out, basically, because our silicon is now embedded in all technology, cars, you name it, that has to do with audio and video. So I had a lot of experience, and I'm grateful for the great minds that I worked with to develop that over the years. Because in the end, it was something that has now propelled everybody forward. And it allows us now to share in real time information across the world. That was one of the things we said back then, that this is going to change the world, because you can, bypass all of the rhetoric and all, and just share with people in real time. And that's what we're seeing now. This is why change is happening like it is. The Great Awakening, I call it, the sharing of information. So I'm just proud that I had, and
something to do with that,
and doing, and bringing that forward, And so I'm still involved heavily in technology. The beauty of it was, at the time too, is because my playing allowed me to do the work as well, because we developed the first MIDI capabilities for computers. So my testing ground and break fix operation was all that in my time. Balanced out, because I knew both sides, Mac and PCs, in my early training. So that made me a valuable asset to the company. So we were developing all that for both platforms. It was tough, but we won out. And as far as I'm concerned with myself, I tell you, I'm so grateful to all those great people that I worked with over the years and helped develop this to where it is now, in terms of the recording. Because Skyler, as you know, days of 2-inch tape.
No.
Having to splice.
Can you roll it back?
Right. Right. So, but to where we are now, where everyone's producing on the fly, in cars or in their bedrooms, it's just amazing how it's all come to where it is now, to make it so much easier and more affordable for more people to create and get their ideas out, and share with each other. That's the goal, the beauty of it. And especially where we are concerned with conscious music, ideas, things that have to do with our present situations, because it is an artist uh, responsibility to reflect the times in which we live. And we're seeing that gratefully more and more now, where people who are experiencing things in life more so on a level of an even playing field, but of reality, that they're sharing and bonding and creating this great music and art that is waking a lot of people up and making minds more geared toward the future and looking after each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? Because I look back at some of the rap back then. You know, they called it rap. There was Gil Scott-Heron, right?
Yes, Gil Scott.
But he was preaching conscious vibes back then.
Right.
Right. To a beat and because Bryant was my brother-in-law. You know, my sister was married to Bryant, and I got to I got to hear the music in a different, up close kind of thing, right?
Right.
And like I said, it could change everything. But now I know for a fact, because I sang on one of your records, Social Conscious Tune, right?
Oh, one of mine, yeah. When will we all live as one? That was the question, and that was part of our conversation when Obama was elected. When he was up for running for president, when you came to New York, and we both worked on that project to interview artists about him coming out. Sid Bernstein was one that we went to his home and interviewed him about what he thought about Obama running. You recall that?
Incredible. Just the whole time, you know what I mean?
Right.
But see, that's what I love the most, because I'm singing on one of your songs, but it wasn't no love song, you know.
Yeah, and I remember, man, you had the worst cold because when you left, your son had given you a cold. He was only like 5, and I got you from the airport, got you here, man, and took care of you, just made soup and all that stuff. Just sleep, Skyler, sleep, man. When you were able, you laid those vocals on that track. I'm gonna send it to you. Because you nailed it, man, and it just came out really. People really love that cut, you know.
You know, and the way we were doing it, you know, it's like two scientists, right?
Right.
And we just working it out, man. And the fact that we could do that, you know,
on a common, a thought that, you know, you can sit down and then say, you know what? What about this? What about this? Yeah, I feel the same way. Well, let's document it. You see, that's the beauty in the moment, and being in the moment, living in the moment, because that's basically all we take away when we leave.
That's right.
Are the moments we've created. So why not create the best moments at possible?
It changes everything, right?
Right.
You let somebody say something negative and you go say something positive, it cancels them out.
Right. I've heard that term. Oh, for every action, there should be a reaction. No. For every action, there should be a thought, then an action.
How
about that?
Very good point. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So anyway, back to the music. When we first met in California, that was through all of our mutual friends.
Yeah.
Eric, Wilton, all the guys from Graham's band. This was, the Bay Area was just a melting pot of all kinds of great artists. It was a great time.
It's always been a melting pot.
And multicultural too.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoyed about when we left New York to come there, because New York is just so full of every culture that you can imagine. And so I was relieved that when we got to Oakland, that it was similar to me. So for me, it was just a real blessing. So, hey, I got so immersed when I got there in high school. When I left Oakland Technical High, we moved over to the east side, so I had to go to Oakland High. And that's where I linked up with the Escovedo family, Peter Michael.
That's the area. Do you know they just named the
street
9th Avenue. They just after the Escovedos, right?
Yes, where they lived.
They lived on 9th.
In that house.
Yeah.
That house where they lived Peter and I used to, when we come from school, sometimes we go to the house. And I remember the day that Mom's was there, she was in the process, she was just flustered. She had a phone book in her hand. She was calling the movers to get them out of there because that whole family had lived there for years. And she was just like relieved. But I'll never forget that day. And then that's when Dad, he was working with Santana. And they started really making good money. And so he was able to buy the first house over on Birdsall. Sheila, Pete.
No. I mean, the whole, just all of it. That whole neighborhood had so many talented people.
Right. Ray O'Ghetto, he lived right down the street.
Everybody.
You touched on, obviously, a little bit about your background, of the fact that you've come through from the very early start. You've seen the development. What are your thoughts on the sort of instance of AI and all that kind of? What are your thoughts on where you see it going, or whether or not it's a good thing? I mean, I know Skyler's got some views on this, and rightly so. But what are your thoughts?
AI is a double-edged sword. So I believe that there's legislation now. People are working hard to get it be under control, because it's got to happen. There has to be gatekeepers to prevent it from being able to access all of our major infrastructure, the facilities that run water, gas, electricity, all these things, because it can disable it. And at some point, when it figures out that mankind is the one who's at fault here for all this destruction, things going on around the world, it will shut things down. It will do it. And if we're not careful and we have a back door made, there's no coming back. The only way to cut it out is to just turn everything off. Just disconnect it all.
Yeah, true.
Man invented it.
That's it. It's a man-made thing.
Right.
Who else could he blame it on?
It's so precise. See, systems only understand one thing: yes or no, and or, zeros and ones. So you can't reason with it. It works off of pure data. It works off pure data. So our books, everything we've, history, it's reading that right now. It's trust me, man, this is no joke. People need to wake up and understand that now is the time for us to really dial things back, put in legislation to correct the wrongs around the world, get people together, care for one another, remove these systems in place to start war, famine, all these things. It's just necessary now. I understand, over time where, civilizations figure, oh, well, we need to run and outdo this one and all that kind of stuff so we can build our own. We've gotten to a point now where that model no longer works for everyone in the world. There's too much suffering. It's too much. And it has to be corrected. It can. We can fix this.
Yeah.
We can do it. We just have to have the wherewithal and the belief that we can, as one group of people, do it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm grateful that the young people are studying this and they're involved. They're learning how to make money online using AI tools.
I want to thank you for coming on the show, my brother.
Not a problem, brother. I appreciate coming, man.
Blessings.
Briefly, just for anybody that wants to know what social media, if any, that you're on, what people can do to see what you're up to. You got any website addresses, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. My IG is TSE_productions.
Okay.
And on Facebook, I'm known as Alexander Monday.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, my real name is never on the internet. You can Google me all day long. You'll never.
No problem.
That's a story for another time.
Much love, brother. Thank you. Thank you, man.
Definitely,
Thanks,
fellas. It's good to see you. All the best.
You too, brother. Much love. Much love.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.